Hi, my name is Haley Lopez, and I'm one of the co-owners of A If the Shoe Fits Shoe Company, along with Caroline Daniels and Adrian Tope. First, I'm going to discuss our strategic vision and how it progressed throughout the years. Our original strategy, which we had from year 11 to year 12, was to sell fairly evenly throughout all the regions and to provide an average or slightly above average SQ ratings on our product. We were attempting to keep our prices lower in order to attract customers and gain the market share we desired. In year 13, we adjusted our vision when we realized that our original strategy wasn't differentiating us from our competition, and in order to set ourselves apart, we attempted to focus on private label sales rather than wholesale. In doing this, we moved a large amount of our production from wholesale to private label along with our sales. We modified our strategy again in year 14 when we realized that our strategy for year 13 was not working for us, and we reverted back to our original strategy in order to recover from the losses we incurred in year 13. This is a strategic group map for year 11 wholesale. In the map, you see along the left-hand side is price and SQ rating high and low. Product line is few to many. And in this year, many of the companies stayed neutral in the center. We are company A. We are right here behind G. And we sold our shoes at the average price and SQ rating, but we offered slightly fewer product lines than our competitors, which gave us a disadvantage. Some of the strengths that we held during this time were our SQ rating, and we sold at a large number of retail outlets. Our weaknesses where since we decided to sell the higher quality shoe at a lower price, we cut our advertising costs slightly, and so we lacked in the advertising department. We also lacked the retailer support that we needed in order to sell our shoes. Some of our competitors' advantages during this time, as you can tell, company F, they are very large. They hold a large portion of the market at this point. They are selling more product lines than the rest of the companies, and they're still maintaining that price and SQ rating. Company D and Company E are fairly large as well. They just found the right product line number at the right price and SQ rating in order to gain the advantage that the other companies did not have. This is the same map, but for year 16. So as you can tell, the different companies took their different strategies different ways. There's no longer a cluster in the center. We remain neutral positions. We're still right here, Company A. Our decisions were to recover after recovering from year 13's losses. We needed to stay neutral in order to make back what we've lost. Our strengths during this time was that we offered rebate offers now, and we lowered our delivery time to our customers in order to satisfy them more and to increase our image. The industry leaders at the end of the game, Company H was the first place industry leader, and they provided more product lines than they did in year 11, maintaining the SQ rating, and as you can see, they have a very large portion of the market. Company F, which was a leader in year 11, still remains a leader in year 16. They still sell a large number of product lines, but they've increased their price and SQ rating from year 11.
From year 10 to year 16, we had a generally upward trend during the competition. In the beginning, as you can see in the chart, our business had very little change in revenue from year 10 to year 12. After those few years, we decided we wanted to take a bit of risk to increase our revenue. We tried to put our focus on private label, hoping to take as much of the market share and sales as much as we could, but as you can see in year 13, our attempt to make a new strategy did not go as planned, and it did end up hurting the company. After year 13, we were able to bounce back due to the company reverting back to the old strategy. In the last years in the competition, our business had started to grow and we started to become much more profitable than we had before. Throughout the years, as you can see, we did have an upward trend from year 10 to year 16, although we did have that one little blip in year 13. It did have an upward incline. Now I'm going to talk about prices and SQ ratings with our company. From the start of the competition, we had set our prices a bit too high, thinking that the industry average was going to be somewhere around that area. So we tried to kind of focus our prices around that price, but it resulted in a low market share for us because we overshot. Throughout the year, we stuck to keeping our SQ rating at about 5. The only time we had ever changed our SQ rating was in year 16, and that was just to change it by 1 up to about 6. In private label, which we had very high amount of market share in North America, initially, in the next years, from year 12 to 13, we had lost that huge amount of market share that we had in North America due to other companies dropping their bid price well below ours. But in the end, we did still have a fair amount of the market share. During those years, we were in the middle of the industry, just treading around the middle. During year 14, we decided to lower our prices to $67 in internet and keep our wholesale at $47. During that time, that was the lowest prices we were offering during the competition. We did this to see if we can gain more sales and take a hold of more market share, but it did not give us the results that we were looking for. After those years, we increased our prices again in both segments, but nothing too drastic, just by $1 or a few cents. But the results were about the same as before. Unfortunately, we were not making the sales that we were aiming for. Next, I am going to talk about the return on equity for the company. So from year 10 to year 12, the company was seeing a steady decline with our return on equity. After the company's decision to change strategies from in year 13, you can see on the chart how much of a drastic impact it had on our return on equity. As you can see on here, we were well below 0%. It did take a hit like many other things in our business, but in order to counter this, we decided to revert our strategy back to our old one, hopefully to put us back in a good position. Heading forward past year 13, we did manage to lift ourselves back up and increase our return on equity from the negative percentage that we had beforehand. During the following years, from year 14 to year 16, our return on equity gradually increased, thankfully. In these years, we decided to buy our stocks back, which helped our return on equity. I think if we had included this strategy, buying our stocks back from the very beginning of this, it would have definitely helped us in the long run, but unfortunately we didn't do that. Unfortunately, through the years of the competition, we did not meet the requirements that the investors had wanted. We tried to hit those marks throughout the years, but we were just never able to reach them. Now I'm going to pass it on to Caroline Daniels.
Next, we're going to talk about stock price, and as you can see from this graph, our investor expectation was to increase our stock price from year 10, which was the beginning year. Unfortunately, we actually never met investor expectation, which was less than desirable from what we wanted to do. But as you can see, starting from year 10, we actually increasingly decreased our stock price, ultimately crashing basically in year 13, which is when we tried to switch our strategy, and we were burned by that severely. And while we never met investor expectations, we were able to at least increase our stock price the last 3 years, which I was pleased to see that we almost ended up the same stock price as year 10 in year 16, which clearly isn't as high as we would like it, but I was proud that from all the way down here in year 13 we were able to increase. You can also see this trend here mirrors what happened in ROE, meaning it was a V shape. So I believe the two were very closely tied. Next, we're going to look at competitor analysis. We believe our closest competitor was Company H, which called themselves Baldwin Shoes. We consider them our closest competitor because they had the most similar SQ rating and fairly comparable prices. The two of us almost always had the same SQ rating, I believe with the exception of 1 year, and we both back and forth with who had the lowest price, but they were fairly comparable within, I believe, $5 most of the time. And they were a very effective competitor as they were the winners of the whole game. So they were effective not only against us, but also against all the teams across the board. What they did better, so obviously we had similar strategies, so they had to have done something different and something much better than us. What we, looking at them, think they did better is they consistently had higher advertising across all markets and usually across all years, meaning they probably reached a much larger audience than us. They also seemed like they had built higher capacity, which was a mistake on our part. We only increased by a small amount once, and it was not by very much. We should have increased earlier and more quickly, so they were able to produce more. They also had celebrity appeal early on. We didn't have celebrity appeal at all until several years in, and they seemed to have it as soon as they were able to, which I believe helped them sell more shoes as well. They also had higher retail support, higher retail outlet utilization, higher rebates. So I believe all of these things combined help them have better relationships with their customer and reach a bigger audience. They were able to produce more and meet a bigger demand, and they also had a much better relationship with their retailers. So what we learned, several things. One, we should have picked a strategy and not switched from it. We should have initially gotten together and picked if we were going to be a high quality, low quality, high price, low price. We shouldn't have started with our mid-range, flipped to be primarily private label, and switched back. We should have just stuck with one. We also shouldn't assume anything, or at least to an extent. We would look at our company or market snapshots every week and would base our decisions too solely on what had happened previously. And to an extent, we did anticipate some things to change, but I think we relied too heavily on what previously happened and assumed similar things would happen. We also know that ROE and stock price is important, but we should have paid more attention to our customer and retailer relationships. As I discussed in the previous slide, we believe that those components, customer and retailer relationships, are one of the main reasons that our competitor was able to do so much better than us. We also learned to pay very close attention to your margins. We didn't even realize it till several years in, but there were some private label markets that we couldn't even have a comparable price to other companies. We would be in the negatives, and so we needed to pay very close attention, or some of it you were making money. We couldn't even compete at the same levels in some markets. We also learned to take risks, but not too many. Like we said, we were burned by the year 13 risk we took when we changed our strategy, but I think following that burn, we were so afraid to try anything particularly risky that we were never able to differentiate or market ourselves different or unique to our customers. So that is our presentation, and thank you for watching.